Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, FBI, Washington, attorneys for a President Donald Trump supporter who was convicted in a domestic terrorism plot aimed at slaughtering Muslim refugees asked a federal judge to factor in this backdrop of Trump's campaign rhetoric when deciding their client's sentence this week. Patrick Stein was one of 3 right-wing militiamen found guilty in April of a conspiracy to kill Muslim refugees living in rural Kansas. Ahead of the 2016 election, Stein and 2 others plotted with an FBI informant and an undercover agent to bomb an apartment complex that housed Muslims in Garden City. Stein went by the handle Orkin Man and referred to Muslims as cockroaches he wanted exterminated. At trial, defense attorneys referred to the defendants as knuckleheads who were engaged in locker room talk, and Stein's attorney argued his client was a victim of a chaos news environment that had him thinking a civil war was coming. A jury convicted Stein and his co-defendants, Curtis Allen and Gavin Wright, on weapons of mass destruction and conspiracy against civil rights charges. They are scheduled to be sentenced Friday, a week after another Trump supporter was arrested for mailing bombs to the president's critics and a right-wing extremist killed 11 Jewish Americans inside of a Pittsburgh synagogue. The government said it is seeking life sentences for all 3 defendants. Stein's attorneys, James Pratt and Michael Schultz, argued Monday in a sentencing memo that sending Stein to prison for life was unwarranted and that a sentence of 15 years would be appropriate. They said the judge should factor in this backdrop to this case when crafting an appropriate sentence. 2016 was lit. The court cannot ignore the circumstances of one of the most rhetorically mold-breaking, violent, awful, hateful and contentious presidential elections in modern history, driven in large measure by the rhetorical China shop bull who is now our president, they wrote. Trump's brand of rough-and-tumble verbal pummeling heightened the rhetorical stakes for people of all political persuasions, they added. A person normally at a 3 on a scale of political talk might have found themselves at a 7 during the election. A person, like Patrick, who would often be at a 7 during a normal day, might go to 11, see Spinal Tap. That climate should be taken into account when evaluating the rhetoric that formed the basis of the government's case. Stein's attorneys, who called their client an early and avid Trump supporter, said it was important to keep in mind that almost no one thought Trump was going to win when evaluating the likelihood of an attack. The plot was supposed to take place after the election, as the group didn't want their attack to boost Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Stein, in a message to an undercover agent, wrote that if they attacked ahead of the election it would give a lot of ammunition to the Hillary supporters, and said that Clinton could never be allowed to be president. Trump's win changed everything, and it is reasonable to speculate that it would have changed things among the defendants as well, the attorneys wrote. The urgency for action would be gone. The feeling of a losing battle would be gone. The conspiracies, in part, would be disproven as the transition from Obama to Trump took place. It is logical to conclude that the discussed attack would never have happened in the world that existed post-Trump. Stein's attorneys said their client got caught up in the anti-Muslim information he was devouring online. His knowledge of the Quran, his attorneys wrote, came directly from the internet and conservative talk show hosts such as Sean Hannity and Michael Savage. Patrick himself had never read the Quran, nor had he participated in a comparative study of any religion. Stein, his attorneys wrote, was the perfect, vulnerable target for the FBI, and had relapsed into alcoholism and had used methamphetamine regularly, including after he met FBI informant Don Day. They said that Stein's crimes demonstrated an extreme level of hatred and fear, but they also demonstrated an utter lack of sophistication. They argued that 15 years in prison and 10 years of supervised release would adequately reflect the seriousness of the offense, promote respect for the law and provide just punishment. Trump devotee charged with terrorist plot texted undercover FBI agent about Muslim cleanse. Trump's FBI attacks are helping accused terrorists defend themselves in court. Right-wing extremists guilty in terror plot against Muslim refugees. Ryan Riley is HuffPost senior justice reporter covering the Justice Department, federal law enforcement, criminal justice and legal affairs. Have a tip? Reach him at ryan.riley@huffpost.com or on Signal at 202-527-9261. Download. Do you have information you want to share with HuffPost? Here's how. Ryan J. Riley, Senior Justice Reporter, HuffPost.